Welcome to Venator Chronicles Podcast. I'm Ethan Taylor.
And I'm Dustin Jelly.
Our hope is to inspire new and old hunters alike.
We hope you can join us on this journey of lessons that we have, are, and will learn through the world of hunting.
So like with hunting, like trying to figure out like what it is to me and ultimately like to me it's not the identity and I do want it to be something that's more than that for people. And I think so often like when you watch hunting shows and anything you ever see, it's like that is the identity that people end up walking away with, or the message where it's like this is the all important thing that we do.
Yeah.
And then so like trying to think about an effective mission statement is like, how do you address that? You know, just kind of up front and being like, that's not our end goal. Like our end goal isn't to make you like quote unquote successful.
Yeah.
Like the end goal for me, like when I think of hunting, I think of all the challenges and the ways that it stretches you and the ways that it really is to me like a microcosm of life. And you end up getting a lot of those things that you wouldn't actually encounter. Like how often are your ethics challenged? Or the things you say you will do or the things you operate by, how often are those actually challenged? And it's like for hunting, for me, it's like that's often. And I don't know. I just think like when you think you believe something or you're saying you're going out for a certain reason and then all of a sudden some sort of opportunity, in air quotes, some sort of opportunity comes up and you're not actually... You start to go second guess things, or you start to go, oh, well, if I do this or if I do that, you know, certain people might think certain things. And I know that this is on one hand, like I know some people don't struggle with that at all.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, like there's a good portion of people that it's about the outcome. And I would be lying if I said that wasn't like something I have to consciously fight or work through.
And you went like, so when you mean like outcome, are you really kind of thinking in the context of like what I succeed or my success dictates who I am, or my success dictates kind of my value in relation to hunting and my identity? Like, oh, if I don't successfully harvest, you know, and if I don't successfully kill, like, or what I kill, the size of it, like, totally dictates, you know, my value and worth as a hunter. Or even as a human being.
Yeah. And people fall into that. And I think, to me, I mean, even like having started the podcast and having people come up and being like, oh, podcast guy, whatever it is. And then at first, one of the first questions is, how's hunting going? Right? Because that's what it's about.
Yeah.
And had I not had some success this year in terms of an actual harvest or two, you know, what would that how would I feel about that? If I'm honest with myself, I would feel like I didn't, you know, when I'm face to face with those people, I might feel like I didn't actually do what I set out to accomplish.
Yeah.
But so many of the lessons were not from the hunt that was successful.
Yeah.
It was the ones that totally fell apart and were trash, you know, in the world's eyes.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
I guess it's hard to say. Like
that kind of goes back to, I mean, maybe I did it subconsciously, and now you're really starting to flesh out kind of what I was thinking or feeling when, you know, in our intro when we, you know, made the statement, like, basically join us in along this, you know, line of hunting, these lessons of hunting. You know, it's what we're learning through hunting. You know, like, yeah, I think you're really starting to hit something that, because, yeah, I mean.
But that's really vague, right?
It is vague.
It is vague. And I think even when
But so how do we communicate that? How do we even develop that in our own?
Well, that's what's been interesting is since we started this podcast, I think when we both went into it, and we had talked about this before that even started, we were like, you know what? I'm willing to have embarrassing statements. I don't care, like, if I, you know, don't know all the seasons, or I don't know all this or that about every single season or hunt or strategy. But to be honest, the thing that's been challenged the most is what are my stances and how is it going to affect what I do? Like whether it's a field or like goal setting, it's just like there's a certain amount of And I would say most of it's just put on yourself because you kind of build things up in your own mind.
Yep.
But like building things up to like, okay, so now, I want to put out content. I want to do this. And it's like when I was talking about the challenges or not knowing certain things, I was referring to not getting animals or, like, oh, it was really tough to stay out there. Not like the extent of, making sure this doesn't become my identity. Because ultimately, hunting is not my identity. Yeah. It's not my number one.
Well, no. I mean, especially coming from a Christian's perspective, which both of us come from.
Yep.
Ultimately our identity is found in who we are, in relation to God and what He says it is.
Mm-hmm.
And but obviously within that encapsulation is in the role as stewards of this earth, and obviously in this time, like as hunting or as hunters, as people who hunt. Yeah, like it's a fraction. Is it a fraction? Of who we are. And it's just not everything.
Right.
And like I think I've heard a couple of different people this last year, like some of Donnie Vincent's stuff. There's another guy, I can't remember his name. It's gonna come to me. He's from Canada. He gave one of the most amazing speeches I've ever heard. The most persuasive man I've ever heard.
About hunting or what?
About hunting and conservation. Oh, God, I'm going to have to look him up. But really challenging this notion of, if, there's animals, become endangered, are you willing to forego hunting for, the health of the animal population? And, because I think that, that really hit me, but, I can only imagine, for most people I know, a lot of people would probably be like, no, I'm going to still hunt because that's just what I do. That's just, it's if I don't have this, I'm not, I just can't imagine. And so, for a lot of us, it is our identity.
Well, and I think one thing even bigger than that, too, well, maybe not bigger, but it's in the same playing field, if not bigger, is the idea of, are we going to, like you said, forego hunting of this whatever animal that you find to be your greatest pursuit for the next generation, maybe not even your own kids. Mm-hmm. Maybe you don't have kids. Mm-hmm. What's it all about? At the end of the day, what does it come down to? What's there to gain? Yeah. If it's just for you, if it's just about you, go hunt the rarest animal you can find, right? Yeah. I mean, if that's what it's about.
Yeah. There's obviously nothing wrong with that. Yeah, it's a tough balance. So kind of getting back to, do you just pour Coke with your whiskey? Oh, man. We'll work on that. I mean, my wife drinks her whiskey straight.
Yeah, well, you know what? You also put, what is it, charcoal fluid on the wood? So,
yeah. So
I don't know. There's all sorts of ways we can challenge manhood if you'd like to go that direction.
Oh, man.
I don't know. I just.
So, kind of get back to that statement then. What was the word that you used? Microcosm?
Microcosm, yeah. It's like this hunting to me, especially with archery, because I was actually talking to someone about this earlier today, like the difference between archery and rifle season. And obviously there's people who go rifle. And when I say rifle hunting, really it's specific to my experience with it, because there's people who do much more difficult hunts than I do with a rifle than I do, right? Yeah. I mean, they go 15, 20 miles, even further, whatever, horseback and then climbing and, so I'm just kind of referring to my experience where it's been you get out there, and we've talked about it before, you sit, you wait, it's about how long you can sit there. And there's some mental toughness that definitely comes out of that. When I was younger, early teens and preteens, that took a lot for me to do that. And it taught me a lot of things, and I didn't get a deer every season from it. So there's good things from it for sure. But I think with archery in particular, and honestly kind of coupled with starting the podcast and just feeling that lack of immediate community, it's become really interesting, because a rifle, it's in Wisconsin, if you can see it, it's probably in shooting range. And when we go out with a bow, And when I see, a deer 100, 200 yards off, and it's like, oh, I wonder if I can put on a stock. And then kind of like you talked about with the turkeys, it's like, how close is close enough? And like, what's going to dictate when you say, oh, this is good enough? Like, is it the result? Is it for the animal? Like, what's the motivation? And so, like, when I say microcosm, it's like this little snippet in time throughout, each year or whatever, where these areas of your own, I don't know, these areas in life where I don't think you get challenged in those ways where it's like it is life and death. And now, I mean, there's a whole nother thing where people you may not care about the animal that much or be like, oh, whatever, it's meat, that's why it's there. Which I agree with, but there's got to be like a certain level of respect as well, I think, and like reverence for what you're doing. And like we're saying when we talk about identity and stuff, like for me, like that's God's creation, it's put here for us to harvest and use wisely. And so if I loose an arrow and I'm too far away, or I know that I'm pushing my limits, which if I'm honest, I have, then how good of a job am I doing? And am I willing to like stop and reflect on that and be like, okay, heat of the moment, what kind of person am I?
Yeah.
So I don't know. For me, it's been challenging in that way.
And when you think about too, like kind of fleshing this out to the long-term picture, in the end, once, obviously coming at it from a Christian perspective, once the full like restoration, redemption of creation happens, hunting won't be anymore. Like, like it's gone, it's done. Like the need to have to go out and kill and harvest and take animal life, it's done. Like that kind of puts things in a different perspective. Like this isn't a long-term, like
it's not ultimate fulfillment.
No, it's not ultimate fulfillment.
Like of yourself and your life goals, and it'll give you moments of that, I think.
Yeah.
And I think like for me, even like referencing back to my first archery buck, it was like the kill itself was one of the lowest moments for me because I know I made a poor shot, and it really felt like, yep, like it was just like this sense of like should have done better.
Yeah. And
man, I went and I looked back at the raw footage and stuff because I chopped it all up to put it online because nobody wants me to climb down a tree, watch me climb down a tree. It was like 19, 20 minutes before I got down because I had to like lower everything. My hands are numb.
Yeah.
Like I was like, and in the video I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. Like I'm apologizing to the animal, and like it was really weird because I've not had that experience with a rifle.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, and I think it was. I mean, like if I'm honest, there's actually a really, oh man, like if you look back and you really critique yourself, because it wasn't more than a few months later, a month or two later, I was out doing deer drives with my family, and absolutely smoked it was a smaller buck, but it was on a deer drive, and they had shot like 3 times, and so I didn't know if it was wounded or not, whatever it was, but it was a legal buck, and I shot it, and it was small, and just tumbled it head over heels. It was like 12 yards away, and I had here's a hot button, a 223 deer hunting.
And 223 or 556?
Oh, actually, no, it was 223, but it was like a pretty hot. It was a pretty hot load though.
Well, yeah, 223
like,
usually runs hotter than a.
And
with the suppressor, did you have your suppressor on?
Sure did actually, and I think that's actually why it ran. It ran straight towards me after I took the first shot because I missed in front of it, and they will hear the sound once it passes them.
Yeah.
So he would have thought I was going to, like, he was running from my right to left, and I shot out in front of him. I missed, and he cut back to his left, which would have been towards me, because I think he heard the sonic crack once it passed him. And then he came towards me, and then I basically filled my scope, pulled the trigger, and went right through all the vitals and spine, like everything. Like, it was intense. Like, he just went head over heels, and he landed like 12 feet away from me. Anyway, but I was so amped up. Like, there was not the same impact.
Yeah.
And it was like, you're in this group, and it was just so different because you're like celebrating this victory immediately. And I don't know, if it registered differently because the deer just dropped and I wasn't like feeling that that short period of guilt or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But looking back at the video, I was like, that's a different dude than the guy who was archery hunting. Like, what's that about? It was really weird. It was really weird. I was actually pretty embarrassed. My wife was like, I sent her the video. I was like, oh my gosh, I got the second buck and blah, 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 blah. All this stuff. And I was so amped up. And she's like, is that?
Who are you?
Essentially, yeah. Like, who is that guy compared to the guy who was doing this?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, like I was actually a little bit embarrassed. So I've yet to work that out in my mind. Like, how is that different? Why is that all of a sudden like a totally? I mean, I haven't thought about it a ton.
That gets into
because it was a little bit
existential side of things.
Yeah, and it was a little embarrassing actually. Like looking back at the video, I'm like, so then what do I do though? Do you stay authentic to like, yeah, I felt this in this moment, and that's what it was?
Why not?
And do you share that, or do you put up some facade of like, hey, no, I'm cool, guilty, and right? But
yeah, exactly. I think.
But at the end of the day, though, this is where we talk about the struggle. Is like at the end of the day, I did not end up sharing that video. Of like right after I got the buck. You haven't even seen it.
Yeah, I haven't even seen that. Why not share it though?
I might now.
I think you should. Like, I mean, if that was the genuine, emotions felt, the excitement of it. Like, well, so the facade then is to try to always maintain like this somehow.
Extra thoughtful, deep hunter.
Yeah.
And it's like, but like when you're working with a group. And you are as like I'm gonna just jump into this lingo. If you're working with like this tribe of people trying to like get this harvest, and you're working together, and you got a guy who missed it, and it's working your way, and your plans unfolding, within seconds, and you're ready, and you end up pulling the trigger, and you miss, and then you
yeah. Well,
I mean, what I'm saying? Like,
well, so this kind of gets into maybe then more of the a little deeper psychology of things, like that excitement that you felt. I mean, was it more of excitement like, oh, I just killed something? Like, was it the excitement of the death that just happened, or the excitement of like, oh, I accomplished this, the set outcome that I set out to accomplish? Like, I'm excited because I got what I wanted to get. Like,
so like here's what I
mean, what did you take excitement in? That's what I'm getting at. What did you take
fair.
excitement in?
That's a really good question. And for me, I think what happened is that I knew that like this is a little bit of a buildup in my mind, because I was like, I told my wife, I'm like, you know what? I've gone out archery hunting a lot, and we knew rifle season wasn't going to be a 9-day grind where I was like, I'm just gone, from before light and after light, like every single day or very close to it. And I was like, can I just go out one day? Like, I just want to go out to do some deer drives with the family and just be with everybody. Like, that's why I like hunting season. Like, it's my favorite part is that camaraderie, and you make a game plan, you go do a deer drive, you load up the trucks, go to the next, lot or whatever you're gonna push, and make a game plan, do a deer drive. And so for me, it was like I had one day, and the year before I got my very first buck on a deer drive, but I was a sitter, and then and that was like my first buck ever. And then when I went on this one, I was able to actually, on the one time I was going to be able to get out, I ended up getting a buck. And I was like so amped, because I like, even in the video, I think I'd have to review it again, but I'm pretty sure I'm like, I can't believe it. I got another buck. No way. This is and like, it was just like, I literally couldn't believe that it had unfolded the way it did. And like the deer had like dropped, and it was just like, I don't know. It was really, really odd to me. And like, I was just so pumped up, and I'm like high-fiving everybody, and we're like that. It was more like being able to share the excitement with everybody, because everybody else was excited too. Yeah. And so a lot of it was like, for me, it was like disbelief that it actually panned out the way it did. And so I don't know. I don't think it was like, oh, the deer's dead. But I was really excited for like having the meat, because there was other things we wanted to try and do with it that we just didn't get to do with the other one. And so that aspect of it was actually pretty huge, because we were like crushing the meat that we already had just from like a month earlier. Like, my wife's like, we need to slow down eating the venison, because we're going to be out before we can even grill it in the summer.
Yeah, we did that too.
Are you serious? Dude, that's awesome. That's legit. So I would say it was more along the lines of like, you had this group of people and you're out there, but there is, I don't know, there's some sense of like, I love pulling a trigger. I really do.
Yeah.
And when it hits its mark, I mean, there's some satisfaction in that.
Well, you pull a trigger on a compound bow.
Currently, anyway. It's true. It's true.
How's that cigar?
Beautiful.
You liking it?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lighter one.
It is. It's easier to keep going.
Yeah. Between all your talking sessions.
Dude, I am long-winded.
You are
There's
long-winded.
well, very seldom there's dead air on here, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
So I don't know. I think that's something I honestly I do struggle with, is like trying to keep it real,
Yeah.
because I think there's something.
Well, you want to present a certain image, which is or isn't wrong. You know, I mean, doesn't everybody kind of want to present a certain image?
Yeah, but I think there's something really, and this is what I guess I'm learning in general, just in life, not just hunting, is there is something so attractive about someone who's really authentic.
Mm-hmm.
And like really knows themselves,
Yeah.
accepts themselves, faults and all, and is transparent. Like being vulnerable like that. Like people,
Yeah.
there's something about like we've talked about, off air, of course, like this idea of like this like intense masculinity that people need or seem to need, and it's just like I'm so turned off by it. Like I just like. And if I start talking to people, usually they're pretty cool, and it's not like us whatever. But there's like this initial front that I'm like, you don't have to be that cool.
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of goofy and silly and whatever.
You are.
Just generally speaking, but I don't know. It's like, okay, so I've been thinking about this actually, like our culture in general. There you go, rookie. Our culture.
First time smoking a cigar.
Like our culture in general, this is something I haven't even like brought this up to anybody yet, because I'm still like trying to work it out. Like there's this pendulum, right? And on most issues, there's a pendulum, and it swings way one way and then way the other way, and you're constantly combating that. And I think I'm finding myself on more and more issues like on the counter side sooner. So like right now there's this initial like wave, and there kind of is still this attack on like masculinity and like trying to make men really more effeminate and like basically feeling guilty for how God made them, more or less. That's how I feel about it. But then to me, what I'm seeing is this like this overcompensation in some ways, or this over like, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, which I'm all for, and don't be a victim. And I'm all for that. But for me, like I've had my own issues in life where I've looked back and started to realize recently where it's like, I've fought the victimhood mentality so hard that I just straight up didn't deal with issues.
Yeah.
And like there's guilt within the idea of like being a victim.
Yeah.
And I think people who like naturally fight that are going to have some things just put away in a box. You know what I'm saying? Like things that they're not going to be able to connect with, or outside of being vulnerable, which is like, that's not the masculine way. In some case, I'm generalizing, but you get the sentiment of what I'm trying to get at, right? Oh, hey, there's some background noise.
There's a massive...
You think they're coming for us?
Could be.
Are they gonna do that drug bust next door? I brought my pistol. I brought my pistol because of them. Last time we were here, there was a lot of homies.
Yeah, my drug running neighbors. That was actually the fastest I've ever seen a couple of cops fly by. Like that's a legitimate call. Normally they just take their time.
People are probably wondering what this setting is right now, because this is a little bit unique and we just started it out. But so right now we are at, well, first of all, what brought us here today, Dusty?
My 6-year-old breaking her arm.
Yeah, dude, that was so sad.
Poor girl.
Yeah, that was really, really sad. My wife and I were like, don't show me that picture.
Yeah, that was
like
kind of gross.
And it was like the saddest face I've ever seen.
Face.
I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
No. I felt really bad.
Poor girl.
So a series of unfortunate events brought us to a very fortunate place.
Yeah, now we're sitting around my campfire with the campfire.
Fireside and
cigars.
Mm-hmm.
Some good whiskey.
Yep.
On a beautiful night. Like one of 5 we'll have during the summer, and we've already used up 3 this weekend. So welcome to Minnesota.
That sounds actually about right.
And so I don't know. You just got talking about the deeper existential things of life.
Yeah. I mean, what kind of spurred on this conversation was like coming up with some sort of mission statement that encapsulates what we're about. And like, as I was kind of wrestling with that a little bit, I was like, well, I don't like when we have people on and we talk about some special guests that we hope to have on in the future, and really anybody is, at the end of the day, we don't want them to think like this is like where you can become whole, and this is where you can be like everything you're called to be.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Well, I mean,
it offers a lot.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real. I mean, we both started this podcast because we just like talking about hunting, and we thought it'd be fun to share the learning experience with other people, you know. And honestly, there's how many podcasts out there in hunting? There's how many TV shows and whatnot on people trying to make it in the hunting industry because that's their hopes and dreams to make lots of money, or it's just their identity. That's just what they are all about, and that's not what we're not all about hunting,
right? And like
something we enjoy talking about, and there's a lot that we're learning through it.
Yeah, and I think it's just worthwhile. Like, we may not go into it every single time, like the depth of all this, and obviously we haven't up to this point anyway. But I think it's worth visiting, and just like kind of putting it out there. And I don't know, for me, it's going to be like, I'm more comfortable even coming from that position. And then it's just like, okay, so now we can just talk about however we want. And like, at the end of the day, like, I really hope people know that it's not that, because there's people that are going to be coming on, like there's veterans and stuff that we have, some connections to, and some people that want to get these people on that have a real connection with hunting that's helped them kind of like get back into life, really. And like, they found some real motivations in it. And like, to me, I don't know everything that they've been through or what struggles they have and what hunting has given them, but I know it's not the ultimate answer to any issue, but it sure is like a wonderful place to connect. And also disconnect from a lot of other things, and just take in, this beautiful creation God has made for us to enjoy. Yeah. So I don't know, like, I just like, as I was thinking about those things, I'm like, I don't want it to be that this is the main thing all the time.
So I mean, read again what you kind of had proposed as the mission statement, and then the three things we were about.
Well, and I haven't, we were workshopping this a little bit, because I haven't, it was more like kind of got on a line of thinking, so it may not be word for word yet, but like just the general idea of it being, we believe that hunting is a microcosm of life lessons that can be applied in all walks of life. And then the main thing, and then some of the three main things that we talk about just in general already, being the technical, in no particular order here, the technical, strategic, and existential. Wow. And so, like,
what other hunting podcast is talking about the existential reality of hunting?
And like, and obviously, laughs and all the unspoken things that are there. But
we never laugh.
I know, we don't laugh enough.
This is existential.
Yeah, we're gonna have to use it. We're gonna have to find a synonym.
That's all, folks.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna have to find a synonym that you can say. We'll look those up shortly. So, I mean, I think everyone would relate, though. Fires just bring out more of a thoughtful, hopefully a thoughtful, our version of a thoughtful conversation.
And the whiskey and cigars definitely help, too.
They don't hurt.
No.
Dead air. Nothing better than dead air.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with
there should be some ambiance in the background now, right?
Yeah, you should hear the fire.
Yeah. As he puts it up and all you hear is the microphone. Oh, they're connected now, man. Yeah. That for sure wasn't a mistake. Yeah, we don't do any editing on here.
No. Uncut, real, raw.
Uncut, raw. Full of mistakes and whatever else, because it's real life.
Blunders. Yeah. But no, I actually kind of like, that you bring in the existential aspect of it, because there's a lot there. It's a lot. I mean, we've even wrestled with a lot already this last year of different situations and just approaches and thoughts on it. And I don't know. I've always been a little more philosophically inclined. I've always enjoyed that.
Yeah.
And I think hunting again is that platform, that microcosm, as you would say, into that reality. And I just think in general, and I've had this conversation with lots of people, just thinking deeper about life and what we do is just needed. I mean, we just in this modern age,
Yeah.
we want to tweet things, we want to send a quick Snapchat, we want to, it's quick, it's easy. It's not as we don't take the time to think things through as much, and I don't know. Hopefully, we can use this time in this podcast with between ourselves and others to dive more into that. Ooh,
I agree. Oh yeah, the
fire's blowing up.
Oh yeah.
Oh, hear those ducks? Or wow,
Geese. Dude, so I
maybe
think
it wasn't turkeys I was shooting at. Shoot, can't tell my birds apart.
Yeah. Like right overhead. I love it.
The stars are out even.
Man, everyone's gonna be like on their normal day life, trying to be like, what is going on?
These guys don't make any sense.
Yes.
How much did they have to drink?
So, and then I think one area too, I mean, just in general, when I have like find a new passion, and this is one thing, like when we bring guests on or people who are maybe more mainstream in the hunting, or like it's a huge part of their life where they have a solid chunk of time that they commit to it, and it's like something that's really consuming. One thing I know I struggle with, and I'm curious on like how other people deal with it and address it and handle it, is it really could be applied to really any passion that someone's pursuing actively. Is how do you figure out how to balance it? Because there's definitely something you get from hunting that is, unworldly in some sense. Like for me, when I go out, like I feel so recharged after I go out. Like no matter how hard or even disappointing it is, it's just having some experience that isn't within, I don't know, like you get something that you just wouldn't encounter. Like we talk about the microcosm that it is, like you get something that you wouldn't encounter, whether it's just like, am I going to sit out here and just push myself to just sit and freeze?
Yeah.
Like even with turkey hunting, I was like, all right, I'm sitting out here for 2 hours, like in the rain, whatever it is, I'm just going to stay until this time. And then at that time, I'll reassess what I'm going to do. And then like just those emotions coming up of like, am I wasting my time? Like everybody who doesn't hunt when it's raining or thundering out for turkeys I'm so dumb. What am I doing out here? And like just wrestling with those thoughts over and over. And it's like, is this worthwhile? And da, 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 da. And then like that moment of validation when it's like, oh, I saw one. Okay.
Yeah.
I made a move on one. I didn't kill it. I didn't even get a shot off at it.
Yeah.
But I got in position and I was like within 10 yards of it being, in my shooting lane. So I don't know. The family part is really hard to balance.
Yeah. Especially with the kids the age we have, like it's not like they're in their teens where we can take them out with us a ton,
Yeah.
I mean, you can take them out a little bit, but I mean, how effectively are you really hunting with 5 and 6 year olds that are louder than a tank rolling through the woods? At least mine are. Dude,
I think my oldest, he's 5. So I've taken him out coyote hunting, and that was like literally in the middle of the day, just because I wanted to take him out and like have him just experience it, and he loved it. I had him shoot my AR, and it's suppressed, so no hearing protection.
Did it scare him? Was
No.
the recoil way too overwhelming?
Oh yeah, he fell backwards.
Bring him in the tier.
No, he thought it was awesome. He wanted to keep shooting.
Wait,
I was like, that's
you
my
tell
boy.
me a 5-year-old wasn't scared by a
He was
scary
4.
AR?
He was 4 at the
He was
time.
even 4, and he wasn't scared by the scary black AR?
It's green, but yeah.
That's amazing.
OD green.
Its soul is black. It's an AR. It's a black weapon.
That's true.
Yeah. He wasn't scared. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
but like, so like even going out, like I've brought them out scouting and all these things, and like I find myself like constantly managing and adjusting my expectations of like what's going to happen when I go out there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like when I manage those well, it's like some of the best times ever. And like usually it's like the initial, like I get out there and I have like higher expectations than what's actually about to happen, like what we're going to accomplish. And then it just becomes about the process with them and seeing their interest and their like their wonder in the world, and like they're collecting rocks on a gravel road, but it's because they're like it's a really unique thing for them.
Yeah.
Because it's those first times out there, and they're finding feathers from turkeys and just seeing different animals. And like to me, I would not take quite as much time to pause and look and appreciate. And with them, it's like, okay, like, all right, let's sit down and just watch these deer.
Yeah.
And we just sit and we sit and we sit, and they're trying to put their, as we call them affectionately, their knockers, binoculars. We call them knockers. They're looking through the objective lens, totally the wrong side, trying to. They're so much further away through these. Trying to get them in the lens, and it's such a hoot. But like my 5-year-old, he's now 5. He's actually really good. Like he's very technical. He's looking at every track and like he's, Dad, what's that? And I'm like, well, you tell me. And so he's like trying to identify, and like he loves it. And he'll just like come across tracks and be like, oh, that's a track. That's a deer track or a bunny track, whatever it is. He'll try to figure it out. And then my 3-year-old, he is like the woods crasher. Just he just wants to run, and it's awesome. But again, managing the expectations. And when you bring both of them out, it's like, okay, yep, we're not getting anything done.
Yeah.
But
I'm a lot like the 3-year-old.
Yeah.
I just want to crash the woods. Probably why I didn't kill anything for the first 2 years I was hunting. It's just too loud.
Dude, I was thinking, maybe I haven't thought about this that deeply, but I was really considering like why do we choose? I mean, you could even like you've made the argument last time. It's like, well, why'd you go to a bow if it's less efficient?
Yeah,
and that's a great question.
Yeah,
but like so for you, like you haven't had. It's not like, oh, I've killed so many deer with this, and it's just a lot easier now. It's like you killed one deer with it in 3 years.
One
with
deer
the compound.
Yeah.
Compound, yep.
And I hadn't killed anything before.
Right. Like, what is the draw to you? Like, pun intended, the draw. That's great. To
Dad jokes 2019.
Yeah, we're coming at you hot. To go to a recurve. Like, what is it that ended up like honestly, because there's a real special breed of people, as we've posted and all this stuff, like they are dedicated to it.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like, I don't feel like it's that, like I know it's different.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like it's like that much different. But it is really different.
I think, as I've thought about this, because especially the last, 2 months of trying to figure out how to shoot this darn recurve, like there are some days where it's super frustrating, like really frustrating, like mind-numbing. Like, why did I do a switch? I could easily just switch back.
So can I butt in though?
Yeah.
Like, I just want to ask questions as we go here.
Yeah.
So, but again, like to me, I encountered that with the compound.
Mm-hmm.
And were you at a point where you were like, not that challenging anymore? Is that part of it or no? Or was it? I don't know. I guess that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously the compound was still challenging. I mean, geez, all the missed shots I had last year definitely confirms and affirms that, yeah, it was challenging, and I still have a long ways to go there. But I think there was just a certain draw to like give that a try, and just really enjoying shooting the recurve. I think that was when I first started shooting it, and I was just like, oh, this is a lot of fun. Let's just dedicate a year to this, and so I kind of went into it like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this for this year for sure. Like, I'm just straight up, that's all I'm going to do, because I know I have to dedicate, and hopefully it goes beyond this, But I think it's just the draw of the challenge. I mean, that's kind of why, like, going back to turkey hunting, why I've not taken a shotgun turkey hunt. I mean, I could have killed a bird every single year. Turkey hunting, it's not been a lack of opportunities. It's just been a lack of, executing things properly on my end. But I enjoy it. Like, it's the challenge that I enjoy. Like, there's just this, I don't know, maybe I'm a little twisted in the head, but like I just enjoy the thought of like, no, I'm setting out to accomplish this task through this means.
Is it like the trail less traveled on? Is that what part of it is for you? Where it's like you like being kind of on the fringe of.
There's part of that.
Popular?
I've always kind of been like that. Not one could make the argument though, like, dude, recurve, the trad life is the cool hipster thing to do right now, because it kind of is. But
yeah, that's true.
But I think
thank you for honestly assessing that. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
you know, but at the same time, I just there's a certain draw to it. There's a certain enjoyment of that challenge. And I mean, geez, I've been turkey hunting now 3 out of the last 4 years, and still have yet to get a bird. But I just like the thought of grabbing a shotgun and going out. It's just there's no desire.
See, and this is I think where you and I have differed quite a bit, and I think it's real healthy, and especially if we're gonna be sharing thoughts and stuff where it's like if we're just in an echo chamber of like an agreement for everything, then that's not one of us is one of us is unnecessary if we're agreeing on everything. So for me, like I talked about even with turkey hunting, like I was glad I had my bow and I thought it'd be a fun challenge, but like I was out there and I'm like, would I really care if I had a shotgun? Like why would I not use a shotgun? And to me at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, I really wouldn't care, because I'm not really attached to the bow for everything. Like, oh, I use a bow now, and that's all I use. Like, I would have had a turkey this year, and it's not like the end result that was the thing for me. It was just like, it's effective. I can do the same strategy. Like, that for me is really what it comes down to. Like, I really enjoy the strategy in it and trying to put yourself in the right position, read things correctly and make snap decisions if you have to, whatever it is. And then, for something like a turkey, for whatever reason, it's not as crucial for me to be using, a bow of any sort, really. And then, because you can still do the stock, you can still do all those things. You're looking at roughly the same range. I would argue definitely a little further for me, because I'm not extremely confident in my range with a compound even still. So I would have a little more range and a little more brush I'd be able to work through. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's like the process is cool for me.
Yeah.
And I don't know. So next year I might be using, like I honestly probably made the decision a little bit based on like just how things were going, where it's like, oh yeah, we're kind of about archery. And then I was like, if I'm honest with myself, I was in the field and I'm sitting there, I'm like, I don't care if I use a shotgun. I don't know why.
You want to hear something funny?
Uh-oh.
I had a friend ask me today that I do, my buddy Justin, I go shooting with every once in a while and do jiu-jitsu with. He asked me today, because we went out shooting this morning, and he asked me how you were enjoying shooting a recurve. I was like, what?
Me?
Yeah, he asked you about you. I was like, Ethan hasn't switched over yet.
Oh my gosh.
He's like, oh, what? Oh, really? He's like, oh man, I thought you guys were both had switched over. So
no,
it's out there. It's out there. People are believing you switched over.
Yeah, I'm not that much of a follower. Just I don't know. Like I just see like the benefits for deer hunting. The huge draw for me initially, like a really big part of it was like my elk season just extended exponentially.
Yeah.
It's like
I think there's
unbelievable amount of time I get to spend in the woods.
Yeah, an easy jump from just going to archery for that reason alone.
Yeah, and nice weather. I mean, I could not. I was so excited, just being like, I don't have to just like. Though. It wasn't that bad. I enjoyed it. There's some nice mornings and evenings.
Yeah, it was cold.
It was chilly. I like it cold though, man. Yeah. Just not like where you have everything so cumbersome that you can't like move, and it's just I don't know. That's rifle season for me. So outside of deer drives, so I was happy to be where I was and wearing what I was, and it was good. It was real good.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that answers your question. I just really enjoy the challenge, I think, and there's just I don't know. Part of it too is I see the long-term picture of things. It's something that's always come a little more natural, as being able to see the long-term and being okay with not having immediate results. Going, okay, no, like I know this is going to take some time to develop, and I'm willing to put the time in and wait, and I'm okay with that, and hopefully I can pass down. I'm not just learning a skill set for me, but also for my kids, when they get to age, and be able to teach them. And I don't know. I guess I see the long haul.
Yeah, but that and again, I kind of come back to like, well, you can, in my mind, you can really, like, it's admirable what you're the sentiment of what you're saying, and then but like to me too, unless I'm misunderstanding you, maybe. It's like the same time, it's like the hunting in general to me, like at the end of the day, I don't want my kids to walk away with like, oh, I killed something. Like it's much more than that. It's not everything, but it's much more than that, and it's going to teach a lot of important lessons. So it's more of like a tool and an avenue to help them learn different things.
Yeah, what's helping me? It's helping
Self-discipline, and really, I mean, you can, if you take the time, and I'm really bad at this because I process, excuse me, I'm a verbal processor or a whatever, I forget exactly the right word, but anyway, I process things through talking with people.
With your mouth.
Yeah, I use my mouth. So when I'm able to start talking about it and I look back at things and start to think about like how it went and what decisions I made, and most of the time if I do that with someone, I'm like, I can start to see like the areas where I was like, oh, you know what? Yeah, that really wasn't wise, or that was not what I say I do or think, or what I even portray at times. And so it's just a challenge for me, like almost every single time I go out. I love it. How's my checks, by the way?
It's good.
Yeah, you crushed like half my bag.
Well, you got a little bag.
You're leaning on me to keep talking here. You're away from the microphone. You're making
I'm
me...
enjoying the checks. Well, I think that was a good conversation.
It was. So we got to come up with a mission statement.
We do.
That encapsulates what we're about. And I think it's much more than hunting. And like you were saying, I forget what it was I was saying. You're like, oh, well, that kind of goes. Yeah, that's what it was. I was like, what about a tagline that's more Venator Chronicles, more than just hunting? You're like, well, that literally goes against what our title is.
No, the Hunter's Chronicles. Like,
yeah.
It's about hunting.
It's like
it's an
but
avenue.
it's more. It's an add-on. It's more than just hunting. So I mean,
but it's looking at things through hunting.
Well,
So.
I think it'll be fun. I mean, we have some people this summer that I'm really excited to have come on.
Yeah.
That aren't like purely steeped in hunting.
Yeah.
And just to get their perspective on like the hunting lifestyle, what they get out of it, and what they're giving up to do it, and then how they manage and balance everything, especially people who have a lot going on.
Yeah.
Because it's weird to me to think like, how do you like half-heartedly, and I'm not suggesting anyone we're going to talk to is half-heartedly into it, but
no, because we don't want anybody like that on.
Well, it's like, is it even something you can half-heartedly do?
Yes, I've seen it. I have plenty of buddies that half-heartedly, I mean, they thoroughly enjoy it, but they half-heartedly put the needed effort into, I think, being an ethical hunter.
Ooh.
But we could save that. We'll have to discuss that one night. The ethics of hunting, what we think for right, for wrong, for better or worse, for ugly or beautiful.
Probably mostly ugly.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably wrong.
Yeah.
But
it's so subjective.
Is it?
It is pretty subjective, yeah.
Yes. I think it's personal.
I would say if you think ethics, for me, ethics mostly comes down to when you are pulling the trigger or letting go of a string. That's where, like, to me, I think most ethics, if you're making an ethical decision or not, like that's where probably 90% of your ethics is being chosen, in my mind.
Ooh, I would disagree.
What would you think?
I think the majority of your ethical basis and what you're doing comes from everything before.
How?
What's that?
How?
Because it's what you've done.
Okay.
Up until the point to be able to pull the trigger or release that shot that dictates the ability of whether or not that's a good time.
But that's exactly. I think we're probably
that's the accumulation.
We're probably that's what I was gonna say. We're probably, but we're probably going a little bit like arguing the semantics because
we'll save this.
To me, it's like it's the like exactly what you're saying. It's the culmination of everything you've done or not done up to this point that should determine whether or not you take this shot. Because if you're taking a shot that you think, well, if John Dudley can do it, and you've only shot 100 arrows in within the last 3 months, and that was it all year.
He shot 500 a day.
Right, exactly. And so, like you're saying, it's like to me that's the culmination. That's the pivot point of like, if you let it go, you might be unethical. if you don't let it go, you're being ethical. Unless you really are within your boundaries or like something you've set that you're like, this is a reasonable thing to do. So I don't know. We can save it.
Yeah, we should save it. That'll be a good topic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, well, this is fun.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Little different vibe tonight.
Yeah, well, it's
A little somber.
yeah, a little somber. It's the Fireside Chat.
Yeah.
Fireside Chat with Ethan and Dustin.
Yeah, we were talking, and Dustin, as his usual self, was like, "Just hit record." I'm always like, "Let's prep. Let's think of what we're gonna do. Let's get a rough outline."
Got to put the makeup on first.
Oh, you know it. You know it. Got to powder up the face.
Powder up the face for a podcast that nobody sees.
Yeah. Well, a few people have said we have the face for podcasts, so that's good.
Nah,
I think that's really encouraging.
You got a beautiful face. That beard.
Mm.
Yeah. Mm.
I'll be growing that out. I looked at some guy with a legit beard braid today, and I was like, "Babe, can I get that?" Not to you, my wife. And just no words, just her face told me, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Come on,
I think if I was a
Alexandra.
guide, if I was like a full-time guide, then I'd be
Alaska.
I'd be okay. Oh yeah.
You'd have to.
This
yeah.
guy was a bear hunter. I think
No.
he was a guide. It looked
Bear.
legit though. I was like,
I could. You look good rocking a beard braid.
it was like an 8-inch beard, and then it went into a braid after that for like
Jeez.
12 or 14 inches. I was like, okay,
Whew.
next level.
That's a
Next level commitment.
Yeah. Wow. And ability. I don't have that ability. I tried growing mine own, and it looked like Bigfoot. It was not good.
When's the last time you did that though?
Like 2 years ago.
You want to know the funny thing? Is when I went to Alaska, I was like, all right, I don't know anybody up here, and there's no one to judge me, because all I did was I rocked the goat, which if you're not familiar with the goat, no mustache. At least hopefully I'm not referencing this wrong. I think I just had like soul patch and just the chin, and that was like the only thing I could actually grow. And this I was 18, 19.
That's all I could grow too.
And so I was rocking that like all of high school, and after I graduated, and then when I went up to Alaska, it was like, well, if I'm going to try to grow a beard, may as well be in Alaska where it's supposed to be natural. It's very stereotypical of me. And ever since then, I've clean shaven a few times, but other than that, I just either
had a
trim
beard.
it. Yeah, yeah. Usually I like shave it way down once a year, but I don't know. I love it. I'm getting attached. I'm getting attached this year.
My let's see. Yeah, it would have been 2 years ago, and when I went to shave it off, I just trimmed it way down to like a stubble, and I came downstairs, and my 2.5-year-old, when she saw me, mind you, she was like, I don't know, not that old. She like got really sad, like she didn't recognize me.
Like,
Like-
who's this stranger in
Like,
our
because she had
house?
never seen
Yeah.
me not with the beard, and she was just like, "What?"
Yeah,
It was
it's so
great.
weird. Whenever I shave my beard or go really short, I'm like, do I have the world's smallest chin? I seriously look in the mirror and I'm like, yep. Every time I do it, I'm like, never do that again, Ethan. Never again. Because it's like like my head looks like it's 24 inches long.
Just keep the beard.
Yeah, I probably will. Yeah.
Well, on that note,
Yeah,
I think it's time to wrap this up.
yeah. If you're out there, grow a beard. It's worth it.
Unless you're female, then
Yeah.
I mean, feel free to grow a beard.
Yeah.
But
Our demographic is probably, about 97,
percent,
3%.
yeah.
women.
Other than our 2 wives and all your sisters-in-laws.
Yeah, we do have some pretty. But that 3% is a strong 3%. I will say that.
Yes.
At bomb.com. So, gosh.
That's when we know we should wrap it up.
Yep. Well, let's do the little plug thing. Where can people find us?
Pretty much anywhere these days. Now that you've gotten us hooked up on every single media platform out there,
As best I can.
it's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Obviously, iTunes, YouTube, Podbean are the major ones. Check us out on Instagram if you haven't already. Facebook. What other link?
Yeah,
download?
I added on to. We're on Spotify, which
Ooh,
I don't know.
Spotify.
I don't know why. I was just like, let's make it as easy for people to find us and listen as possible. So Spotify, we're on there. For some reason, there's episode 1's missing on there. Don't ask. I'm not that technical.
realized it was bad.
Google Play Music and then Castbox.
Cool. I haven't
So-
even heard of Castbox.
Yeah, I didn't either, but it was there, so I signed us up.
Sweet.
Yeah, it's probably some
Probably like some dark web.
It's probably some Android thing. you know,
androids.
put our noses up in the air with our iPhones. So, all right. Well, guys, thanks for listening. And if there's anybody you think would enjoy this, just give it a share. We'd appreciate it. Just tell them about it. Even it's awesome to engage with you guys. So
help challenge their existential views on hunting.
Yep. Yeehaw.
Yeehaw.
All right.
Peace out, folks.
Peace out, everybody.